In a chaotic era, amidst the ashes of endless war, the strongest hero was born, the great healer Gron. He alone stood against countless demonic clans. If the brutal demons were the enemies of all things, then he was their natural predator, because he was even more vicious and brutal than them. But all mortals must die. He and his comrades fell in the final battle, filled with regret. One of his comrades smiled peacefully in their final moments, dissolving into green light. Gron was dead. The evil demons celebrated, for they would never again have to wake up in terror of him. The strong now acted brutally without restraint, and the demon race, inherently lower than beasts, was freed from all shackles. But Gron, who had died 5 years ago, was now reborn in the body of a low-ranking demon. First, he will bury the innocents you have slaughtered over the years. Then, he will wipe you from this earth, completely and thoroughly. The reborn Gron plunged into the slaughter, quickly taking down a demon. A massive surge of energy erupted, wiping out an entire horde of demons in the blink of an eye. He finished off another demon with a devastating kick. The story flashes back to the Great War of the past, where the heroes confronted the Demon Emperor. An earth-shattering explosion marked the climax of the battle. On the back of the Moon Beast, the curtain of the final Great War finally fell. The Demon Emperor was destroyed. But the 5 great heroes also paid a heavy price. Sage Sophia desperately used Holy Light healing, but Grandmaster Zhelong stopped her, as the fatal wound from the Demon Emperor was incurable. "Shut up!" Zhelong roared in his dying throes. He weakly stopped her. "Stop, don't try to save me anymore." With a peaceful smile, Zhelong whispered, "I am content with this outcome." Memories flooded back to the moment after victory, when all 5 heroes still stood firm on the battlefield. But the promise of returning together had become distant. But then the Demon Emperor's voice echoed, declaring this to be the true end of the battle. His bloody tendrils suddenly surged, coiling around the heroes in horror as they realized they had been deceived. Zhelong was stunned to realize the Demon Emperor's true power as his arm began to be assimilated. The hero's muscular body gradually transformed, his left arm turning into a monstrous claw. The Demon Emperor scoffed, calling it not assimilation, but evolution. His dark power engulfed Zhelong, beginning the transformation process. He declared that those who had defeated him deserved to become new bodies for his grand endeavor of world destruction. His primary target was Zhelong, the strongest among humanity. Meanwhile, the ash-blonde swordsman was tightly bound, painfully calling out Zhelong's name. He would rather die by his brother's hand than become a tool of slaughter for the Demon Emperor. Zhelong raised his greatsword, facing his comrade's desperate plea. A voice echoed, revealing that the swordsman was his last remaining family member. Now, Zhelong had to face his own younger brother, standing before the tragedy of fratricide. His younger brother urged, "Why is your sword trembling? Can't you bring yourself to do it?" Zhelong stood tall, the greatsword in his hand reflecting his younger brother's desperate image. The Demon Emperor sneered as his power continued to invade Zhelong's body. "Resistance is futile. Your entire right half has already merged with me." His younger brother smiled peacefully. "So that's how it is. Fortunately, it's not you who is weakened." The blood-soaked blade coldly tore through the air. Zhelong, with his own hand, plunged the sword through his younger brother's chest in agony. His younger brother whispered, "Only a ruthless and deadly Zhelong is worthy of this power." He called out brother one last time, and Zhelong's innate sealed ability, Mountain of Corpses, Sea of Blood, was activated, permanently increasing his power with every soul destroyed. A female warrior screamed in horror. Commander Zhelong, the armored knight and the girl named Mirovi calmly faced death, entrusting themselves and their comrades to him. As symbols appeared one after another on his cheek, Zhelong gritted his teeth, enduring extreme pain as he absorbed the second and third souls. He let out a desperate roar, his new power erupting violently. The Demon Emperor scoffed. "So what? Power gained from 3 lives is only enough to free your right hand," Zhelong retorted sharply, his now free right hand gripping the sword hilt. "To destroy you, 1 hand is enough." He intended to end his own life, but the Demon Emperor sneered. "Humph, planning to cut off your own head? Is that your solution?" Zhelong growled. "Enough." The Demon Emperor's demonized hand blocked the blade, roaring, "Don't test my patience any further." The sword shattered into pieces, to Zhelong's shock. The Demon Emperor declared as the holy sword Asura sank, "It has been destroyed," he boastfully proclaimed. "From now on, no attack in this world can harm this invincible body." But a sudden shattering sound echoed, signaling the impossible. Zhelong gritted his teeth, using his own right hand to stab into the corrupted part of his body. "You think I can't destroy what that sword could?" he roared, tearing the demon-possessed flesh from his body. Amidst the horrified scream, "Zhelong, you!" The Grandmaster's corrupted body exploded in a horrific shower of blood and flesh. Memories flooded back. On the battlefield of yesteryear, the colossal shadow of the defeated Demon Emperor still loomed over a desolate land. Gron, the great hero, gasped his last breath, thinking, "I underestimated you, to die with the Demon Emperor. Is this my end?" Collapsing in a sea of blood, he bitterly admitted, "But I still couldn't wipe out the demon race. And those I had to protect, I couldn't save any of them." He bowed his head in despair, fresh blood spilling from the corner of his mouth, accepting his defeat. The phantom of the demon emperor appeared, mocking the dying victor. What a pity. 5 years later, in the demon territory, a demon was muttering when another interrupted. Chief, enough mumbling. What are we doing tonight? The mantis chief snapped, explaining that they were preparing for the 5th anniversary memorial ceremony of the demon emperor. Standing before the prostrating demons, the chief solemnly declared that they would hold a sacrificial ceremony so that the new generation would not forget their lord's sacrifice. It commanded, "Now, let the ceremony begin. First, we will slaughter the 4 pure sacrifices." Its sharp blade swung, aimed at the bound humans. The entire demon horde roared, rushing into a frenzied and chaotic slaughter. The chief announced the next part of the ritual. Then, we will spill the blood of a demon to offer to him. The sacrifice was brought forth, a figure wrapped in white bandages, suspended amidst thorny vines. It was Gron. Gron slowly opened his eyes, his consciousness vaguely returning. This place is... where? Looking down from his inverted position, he wondered, didn't I die? Suddenly, the mantis chief grabbed his head, roaring, "Don't you dare move, you scum!" It continued to insult. "You are the weakest demon, not even worthy of a name." Gron was stunned, his eyes wide as he heard the word. A demon? The chief raised its blade, preparing to finish him. "Therefore, being hung here as a sacrifice is your greatest honor." Gron swung a decisive slash, a green streak of light flashing in the darkness. The vines binding him were severed in an instant. Fresh blood splattered. The counterattack was successful. The mantis chief roared furiously. "Why are you moving around like that? You've ruined everything." It wondered in shock. No. Could it have been intentional? Gron looked up, his green eyes glowing terrifyingly. "You damn demon, don't you recognize me anymore?" The chief trembled, stammering. You. It uttered the name from its memory in horror, as a furious phantom appeared behind Gron. Gelong? Memories flooded back. The mantis chief was then just a lowly soldier on a demon fleet warship. He was kicking a new recruit, yelling, "What are you looking at? Get to the back and row the boat, you stupid new recruit." Then he urged the group. "The 4 lords are watching, try harder." That was 5 years ago, when the mighty fleet of the 4 great demon kings advanced into human waters, and a single individual appeared. That person came to stop the entire demon fleet. He was the Grand Healer of the Mercy Sect, honorary professor at the Royal Academy, Gelong. The demon king of destruction, Kalisa, roared a command. "Obey me." Gelong silently gripped his sword hilt, ready for the fated battle. Back to the moment right after the battle, the dazed mantis soldier reported, "They're dead. All of them are dead." He, the lucky survivor, said in despair, "Everyone except Lord Shio is dead. The demon king of war Midinikog, the demon king of destruction Kalisa, the demon king of magic Balrog. All had fallen before one person's blade." Amidst the sea of blood and storm, Gelong stood there, his gaze unwavering. In the pouring rain and roaring thunder, Gelong's magnificent figure emerged like a god of war amidst a sea of enemy corpses. Facing that murderous aura, a mantis demon could only freeze in utter terror. Gron secretly thought about the weakness of armored demons. By accurately attacking their joints, they could be easily defeated. He wondered if he had been reborn, as his innate ability, Mountain of Corpses, Sea of Blood, had reverted to level 1. The demons roared, "Finish him! Charge together!" Without hesitation, Gron swung his sword, decapitating a demon in the blink of an eye. Immediately after, an explosive surge of energy swept away the entire charging demon horde. Gron realized these demons were too weak. The souls of 9 of them only raised his ability to level 9. A giant centipede demon appeared, its lower body severed, writhing in pain. It furiously thrashed its long tail. A sharp blade plunged into its body. The centipede demon screamed in despair. "It hurts, you bastard! Let me go!" Gron sat silently amidst the bloody battlefield, surrounded by the corpses of the demons he had just slaughtered. He looked down at his injured body. He tried to use healing arts, one of his core powers from before. But instead of healing light, his arm transformed into a grotesque black snake mass, leaving him stunned. "Why is my arm like this?" His hand had completely transformed into a monster's claw. No. He desperately looked down at another demon corpse, unable to believe the truth. His body writhing in pain, Gron collapsed into a pool of blood. He sank into the sea of blood, horrified to realize a cruel truth. "I wasn't reborn, but reincarnated as a demon." Gron roared in fury, disgusted by his own demonic nature. "This shameful race, this inferior race," he continued to scream in contempt. "Their existence is worthless, except for me to slaughter." Gron calmed down for a moment, his eyes flashing with cold calculation. He collapsed, vomiting a disgusting liquid from his demonized body. A giant centipede demon approached, threatening. "Before I finish you off, I will torment you until you scream like a human." Gron stood amidst a sea of blood, thinking to himself, "I don't know why I ended up like that." The centipede demon wondered why the coward in front of it was so strange, but it was confident it could scare him. Without warning, Gron lunged forward at terrifying speed, unleashing a slash that tore through the air. The giant centipede demon was cut in half in the blink of an eye. Standing amidst the rain of blood, Gron questioned himself. But, to be able to continue slaughtering demons, what do I have to complain about? He concluded with a sinister smile, his eyes glowing. He remembered that 5 years had passed since the fated battle with the Demon Emperor. It's best to find shelter first, then figure out the situation later, Gron decided. He recognized the giant skull of Round Mountain, the old battlefield where he once defeated a giant. Gron bitterly noted that the later generations of demons had built a fortress right on the bones of their old enemy. From above, he discovered the cave he once used as a temporary shelter. Seeing no traces of demons, he decided this would be a safe hiding place. Warm embers rose from the campfire. In the darkness of the cave, Gron sat silently by the fire, beginning his new life. Gron gazed thoughtfully into the fire, his eyes resolute but tinged with sadness. His demonic hands meticulously carved a small wooden statue, recreating the image of a person from the past. A memory suddenly resurfaced, of Jelong screaming because his newly bought pants were burned to shreds in the middle of battle. Gron scoffed at Faye's sewing skills, while the armored knight admitted to having to use makeshift materials. The whole group, from Jelong's younger brother to the sage Sophia, couldn't help but laugh at Jelong's leaf skirt attire. The burly commander's face darkened with anger and shame. Back in the present, Gron looked at the wooden statues with a sad smile. He gently picked up the statue of the armored knight, his silent comrade. Then he placed it down with the others, recreating the hero team of old. 5 small wooden statues stood side by side, a silent reminder of a glorious past. Gron bowed his head, thinking about past mistakes. If only back then, I had done better. He blamed himself inwardly. But then, his eyes turned cold. His hand clenched and crushed the statue of his past self. He threw the broken pieces of wood into the fire, determined to break ties with his old self. The image of the hero Gron of old gradually sank into the sea of fire. He pondered the countless lives that had been destroyed by demons over the past 5 years. But now, he would use this very demonic identity to destroy them from within. Suddenly, Gron clutched his head in pain as the memories of this body began to resurface. In the demon's past, it was just a weakling, humiliated for daring to eat meat. A snake bloodline slave, forced into hard labor like a farmer. In the memories of this body, a weak voice echoed, "Teacher, is tomorrow's lesson also theoretical? We students are eagerly awaiting the practical session." The flashback was cut short. Gron's green eyes gleamed in the darkness as he whispered about the lesson from years ago. He stood up, pondering the nature of demons, tools of war that only knew how to kill. Yet, in just 5 short years, they had developed a civilization and deeply rooted themselves in this land. Gron blamed himself, believing that all past tragedies were due to him not being strong enough to resolve everything. He looked towards the dawn with iron resolve, vowing that in this life, he would become stronger to wipe the enemies from the face of the earth. A map appeared, marking his current location. The Rookie Training Camp. This is Rookie Training Camp number 2, located in the Round Mountain region, where countless demons are gathered. A red-skinned demon teacher roared, "Recruits, have you memorized the current situation of the continent of Solus? I don't want to waste time explaining it again." Standing amidst the crowd, Gron thought to himself that he had grasped the general situation. The teacher explained that after the death of the Demon Emperor, the demon race under Shu had established 5 dynasties, falling into an endless war with humanity. Moving to the main topic, he grabbed a recruit by the head, declaring he would teach about innate seals. He explained that innate seals are a collection of innate abilities, and unlike humans, every demon possesses them. However, both humans and demons consume the seal power within their bodies when using skills. That power is divided into 6 levels, and he brushed aside the matter of super seals, which were beyond the recruit's comprehension. "Like me," he declared boastfully, "I am a second seal expert, while you first seal brats need to try harder." Gron subtly clenched his hand, telling himself that he was currently only a first seal and needed to learn more about the snake bloodline seal. The teacher emphasized that the second seal is a crucial milestone for awakening authority, the ultimate skill. Suddenly, the crowd of recruits panicked and parted, making way for an approaching figure. An arrogant, blue-skinned, blonde-haired demon recruit pushed Gron aside and ordered, "Get out of the way." He continued to insult Gron in front of the crowd, proclaiming himself a newly arrived 2-seal genius. The red-skinned demon teacher roared, demanding order and announcing the start of the practical lesson. The teacher began his lecture, emphasizing that in real combat, sealed power isn't everything. He explained that skill, tactics, and adaptability are the crucial factors, then pulled out a giant covered object. The blue-skinned, yellow-haired demon smirked, whispering, "Finally, something interesting." The teacher revealed it was a demon created by the Demon Emperor, and this was the last remaining individual. He introduced it as the Vile Roar Demon and challenged the recruits, find its sole weakness. Gron simply thought one word, boring. Believing there was nothing left to learn, he turned to leave, secretly regretting he couldn't kill these demons to increase his power. He told himself that with his current strength, causing a commotion would only bring trouble. while the other recruits were still guessing at the weakness. Suddenly, the vile roar demon's crimson eyes snapped open. The monster began to struggle violently, breaking its chains and causing the crowd of recruits to panic. The teacher hastily tried to restrain it, shouting, "Calm down." He reassured himself that this was just a mindless beast, and its throat weakness was still under control. But then, the vile roar demon flashed a sinister smile. It spoke, mocking the teacher's naivety, making him exclaim in horror, You can speak?" The vile roar demon declared that it had completed its mission and would annihilate the entire group of recruits. With that, it used terrifying power to completely shatter the chains binding it. Gron plunged into a bloody battle with the vile roar demon. Its fury transformed the arena into a hellish scene. The monster furiously massacred all the demon recruits in sight. The blue-skinned demon panicked. "Damn it, is this the power of a 3-seal? I need to get out of here first." But just as he turned to flee, Gron stood tall, blocking his path. Falling flat, he roared in anger, "You bastard! Why are you blocking my way?" Gron coldly ignored him, merely brushing a speck of blood from his shoulder. Amidst the chaotic battlefield, the vile roar demon finally noticed Gron's solitary figure. It let out a contemptuous roar, assuming Gron was just another one trying to escape. Scared stiff, the blue-skinned demon muttered, "This isn't good. I have to use my secret weapon now." A massive, shadow-infused attack surged straight towards Gron. The claws of death reached out, ready to tear him apart. However, Gron's eyes merely flashed with a deadly green light. The vile roar demon froze, sensing a strange aura. What's going on? It couldn't understand. Why isn't this weak demon afraid of me? Could it know my weakness? Impossible. It reassured itself that its 9 former comrades were dead. A recruit like Gron couldn't possibly know their secret. A colossal claw slammed down onto the ground as a show of force. The monster concluded, "Absolutely not. He's just bluffing." Gron still stood there, alone, facing the terrifying darkness that enveloped everything. Gron's eyes glow with chilling intent as he warns, "Take one more step, and you'll die." The vile roar demon sneered, "Oh, look at you. Want me to get serious? Then witness my authority." It unleashed its primal power, transforming into a heavenly demon descent and charging straight forward. After the terrifying moment, Gron still stood firm amidst the battlefield, while the noble recruit lay sprawled on the ground. A thunderous sound echoed as if a mountain had just collapsed. Suddenly, the vile roar demon grew wings and soared away, secretly calculating that confronting an unpredictable foe was a high-risk, low-reward gamble. All the recruits were stunned. It ran away? Gron extended his blood-stained hand. The blue-skinned, yellow-haired demon looked up, full of caution. He thought to himself, "What is this guy trying to do? Help me up? Don't even think about approaching me. I am a 2-seal genius, and he's just a slave. Do you think I'd fall for that trick?" He still acted tough as Gron's hand drew near, but Gron merely grabbed a piece of his cloak and ripped it off. He casually used the cloth to wipe the blood from his hand. Humiliated, the yellow-haired demon furiously roared, "You filthy peasant!" The other recruits immediately gathered around Gron, asking in astonishment, "The vile roar demon really got scared off. What trick did you use?" A burly demon pushed forward arrogantly, but Gron simply replied, "I once glanced at humanity's Demon Countermeasures Handbook. It said vile roar demons have no static vision. They can't see you if you stand still." The crowd buzzed upon hearing of Garen the Demon Slayer, and despite their fear, eagerly invited each other to hunt the monster for merit. Gron silently thought, "Vile roar demons have top-tier vision. Go ahead and stand still. Die one by one." The yellow-haired demon looked back at him with disdain. "Reading a few books makes you arrogant, not even respecting me?" A subordinate asked the humiliated yellow-haired demon, "Boss, are you all right?" He immediately snapped back, vehemently denying he was scared. With a sinister smile, he ordered his 5 elite subordinates, "You always boast about your secret techniques. Today's the time to show them. Follow that guy and kill him in the most humiliating way possible." All 5 demons laughed gleefully, assuring that the target's death would satisfy their master. Meanwhile, the demon squad had tracked their prey to a village and decided to make their move. Gron walked alone through the desolate, empty wasteland. Suddenly, 5 demons appeared. A fat one confidently declared that his mist would ensure no one could interfere. The red-skinned demon leader urged his comrades, "Hurry! Don't lose track of him." Hidden in the mist, they discussed Gron, scoffing at the weak venom of the serpent bloodline and believing a bite wouldn't matter. The leader decided, "We'll split up to flush that brat out." Suddenly, the fat demon screamed in agony as green energy snakes burst from his belly. The venom corroded his body from within. The demon's entire body exploded in a horrifying burst of toxic energy. The remaining 4 were engulfed by the toxic smoke from their comrade's explosion. An elf-like demon clutched his eyes, screaming, "Ah, my eyes! There's poison in the smoke." Another also writhed in pain from his burning eyes. Gron thought to himself, considering these 5 abominations perfect test subjects for his sealed abilities. He activated his ancient serpent bloodline, using thermal vision to see through the darkness and toxic smoke. Next, he channeled power into his arm, unleashing Snake Strike. Energy snakes shot from his arm, attacking the enemies in a flash. In the deadly toxic mist, the remaining demons writhed and screamed as the poison corroded their bodies. Gron thought to himself, this ancient serpent bloodline truly offers incredible tactical flexibility. The demon captain let out a savage roar, his body beginning to grotesquely transform. Gron merely observed silently, his gaze unwavering. After transforming, the captain snarled a challenge at Gron, while the last survivor cheered him on. He tensed, gathering a massive surge of dark energy into his arm. Instantly, a devastating slash carrying a deadly black trail was unleashed. The demon roared powerfully as he completed his attack. His comrade was astonished by the terrifying power. Gron's eyes gleamed with a cold sharpness, ready to face the challenge. The energy axe cleaved down, Gron's fresh blood splattering. The moment of impact created an incredibly fierce spectacle. However, the remaining demon's expression abruptly shifted from triumphant to utter horror. Gron stood tall over the captain's corpse, coldly asking the one kneeling at his feet, "Give me a reason." Not convincing enough, Gron replied to his plea, revealing sharp fangs. Desperate, the demon hastily made an offer. He would lead the way to a secret treasure cave. Gron calculated, the treasure was exactly what he needed for a sacrifice, to awaken his molting authority and evolve. Accepting the deal, Gron followed the demon, who announced as they walked that they were almost there. They both stopped before a majestic waterfall. The demon pointed and said, "The treasure is hidden in the cave behind the waterfall." Gron suddenly appeared behind the terrified guiding demon. He mercilessly used the demon's body as a human shield, charging straight through a deadly arrow trap. Standing over the unfortunate demon's pool of blood, Gron coldly uttered a sarcastic thank you. The entrance to the secret cave was a bottomless well, protected by countless traps. Meanwhile, elsewhere, an urgent report was dispatched from a skull-shaped fortress. A frantic demon soldier reported that the vile roar demon had been scared away by a serpent bloodline slave at the training camp. The leader of Round Mountain Territory, Bone Crusher, smirked, finding the matter quite interesting. Back in the cave, Gron was disappointed to find only a tiny chest, but as he opened it, an angry voice roared from the shadows, demanding he put it down. The blue-skinned, blonde-haired demon, master of the cave, lunged from the shadows. He furiously yelled, "How dare you touch my stuff?" Gron retaliated with a lightning-fast kick, breaking his leg and making him shriek in pain. The blonde-haired demon horrifyingly realized Gron's power had surged, secretly understanding why his squad had failed. He knew he couldn't confront Gron directly in this cramped space, especially with a wounded leg. Retreat first, he decided, fleeing to save his life. Immediately, he transformed into a bird and soared out of the cave. His innate sealed ability, Rock Feather Garment, allowed him to sprout wings and escape. Soaked by the waterfall, Gron merely muttered, "Another bird demon." He stood there, contemplating bird demons, and a phantom of colossal wings from the past seemed to appear behind him. Gron landed on the cliff edge, preparing for the pursuit. He took a running start, hurtling down the dark tunnel. Only one thought remained in Gron's mind. Damn bird demons, most deserving of death. He delivered a thunderous kick to the winged demon. The blue-skinned, blonde-haired demon was sent flying, feathers scattering as he plunged into the abyss. Giving his opponent no time to breathe, Gron lunged after him, delivering a devastating punch to his face. Another brutal follow-up attack was unleashed, crushing all attempts at resistance. The winged demon fell freely, crashing hard into the lake below, creating a colossal pillar of water. Gron glided lightly across the water, stopping with imposing power. His face smeared with blood, he stood firm on the lake's surface, his sharp gaze fixed forward. The hovering demon sneered, "I didn't expect you to fall into this lake. How unlucky." Gron suddenly noticed unusual ripples spreading beneath his feet. Suddenly, countless grotesque creatures emerged from the water, surrounding him. The monsters coiled tightly around Gron, their bloodthirsty mouths digging deep into his flesh. The demon, arms crossed, explained, "These Round Mountain gallbladder worms are very bloodthirsty. I'll enjoy watching you torn to shreds until only bones remain." He continued his monologue. The bile from the corpse of the Yuanshan demon created this lake. If he were still alive, humanity would have been annihilated long ago. Despite the pain, Gron unexpectedly counterattacked, delivering an earth-shattering punch to the enemy's face. A stream of yellow energy was drawn from the demon's body, revealing the tattoo on his neck. Gron tensed, his eyes glowing brightly amidst the swarm of worms, seemingly absorbing their very power. The winged demon was astonished by Gron's power, but he quickly regained his smug look, scoffing, "So what if you're strong? You'll never finish killing these worms, even if you try until you're old." Gron retaliated with a fierce attack. Energy snakes rose up, tearing apart the gallbladder worms while the winged demon hastily flew away. From above, he continued to mock, "Filthy peasant. At this speed, you're not even fit to carry dung while it's still hot." Gron's energy snakes continued their slaughter. The winged demon remained arrogant. "Too slow. Waving these worms around, you're no different from earthworms softening the soil." He confidently declared that the peasant would eventually exhaust himself to death. The gallbladder worms once again coiled into a giant mass, lunging towards Gron. But they were merely prey, mercilessly torn to shreds. Gron stood tall on the lake's surface, amidst countless dissolving worm corpses. A colossal energy snake shot up from the water. It slammed into the winged demon with terrifying speed. The demon exclaimed in horror. His speed. Why is it getting faster and faster? The lake's surface had now turned into a sea of black blood. Gron calmly remarked that although he had killed many, they were too weak. Only enough to push him to the second seal. But that was enough to deal with this annoying bird. With eyes blazing with killing intent, he threatened. In the next blink, I will split your skull in two. Angry and skeptical, the winged demon drew his bow, shouting, Are you crazy? What nonsense are you spouting? But Gron had vanished, dashing away at an unimaginable speed, leaving his opponent only time to exclaim in shock. So fast, the winged demon roared furiously. Bastard, don't you dare underestimate me. Furious lightning arrow. As he fired the arrow, he muttered that this was Lord Zhu's magic arrow, which he had picked up years ago. His glowing yellow eyes gleamed with malice, following the arrow as it flew. Gron was stunned, not expecting his opponent to possess such a powerful weapon, and hastily raised his hand to block the attack. The demon exclaimed in surprise, What's happening? As black snakes surged from Gron's body. The colossal swarm of energy snakes quickly enveloped and swallowed Gron. The entire mass of black snakes submerged him into the cold depths of the lake. A pitch-black hand with crackling purple lightning emerged from the water, signaling a terrifying transformation. The winged demon wondered in confusion. Did that arrow kill him? Just then, a pink-haired demoness rushed over in a panic. Brother, are you all right? He reassured his sister that he was fine, having just dealt with a thief who dared to trespass here. On his cheek was a bleeding scratch, evidence of the recent battle. He gently offered a small pouch, asserting that it was for his sister's eye treatment, and he would protect it with his life. Meanwhile, at the bottom of the lake, Gron realized that Lord Shu's arrow was causing a mutation in his body. His mind drifted into a blank white space. An awakening was taking place. Within Gron's pupils, the image of two snakes intertwined, forming an infinity symbol. The Ouroboros symbol, the snake biting its own tail, radiated a brilliant light. Gron awoke in his consciousness, finally understanding everything. A surge of pure energy began to manifest, forming an entirely new power. Tempted by the rare sacrifice, the body's primal instinct forced Gron's authority to awaken automatically. He thought to himself, What a greedy snake. A new authority from the ancient serpent bloodline was activated. Molting. The evolution process began. At the bottom of the lake, a violent and painful transformation was occurring in an explosion of energy. On the shore, the blonde-haired demon smugly assumed Gron had surely drowned at the bottom. Finally able to relax, he wiped the blood from his face and let out a sigh of relief. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning ripped across the sky. The rain began to pour heavily. Both siblings looked up as the sudden downpour began. The sky roared violently with dark purple lightning bolts. The blonde-haired demon felt uneasy before this ferocious dark lightning. The lake's surface began to bubble and glow with a brilliant purple light from below. A colossal pillar of energy erupted from the water, shattering the stillness. The shockwave from the explosion sent both siblings flying. Something leaped out in the lightning, the blonde-haired demon shouted, causing his sister to ask back in a panic. Over there! The pink-haired girl pointed in horror towards the center of the explosion. Amidst the churning lake, a figure stood tall on a rock, enveloped in dark lightning bolts. The blonde-haired demon couldn't believe his eyes. Gron had returned in a completely new, overwhelming, and powerful form amidst the storm. The two demon siblings with feathered wings stood defiantly facing their enemy in the pouring rain. A shadow entity enveloped in purple lightning materialized, declaring its ferocious thunder body and the long-awaited death it brought. The entity condescendingly admitted its mistake, but the younger brother roared back, telling the peasant not to be complacent. Instantly, a wave of destructive purple energy was unleashed, hurtling straight towards the two siblings. The younger brother was sent flying into the air, horrified to realize he had been deceived. As the dark energy pierced his wings, the attacker silently thought that these mere bugs weren't enough to make it exert its full strength. A concentrated blast of dark energy shot down onto the lake's surface, causing a terrifying explosion of water. The older sister let out a heart-wrenching scream, desperately witnessing the scene. She stood alone on the desolate shore, completely broken under the cold rain. Slowly sinking beneath the water, the younger brother resented his own weakness. But then, the thought that the monster would not spare his sister ignited a flame of determination within him. He let out a sky-shattering roar, unleashing a pillar of brilliant golden energy from his body. The shadow entity merely smirked, showing amusement at this sudden change. The younger brother awakened his authority, transforming with gigantic rock feather wings, imbued with the power of heaven's scorn. The sister's eyes welled up with tears, realizing her brother had finally awakened his authority. With newfound resolve, she declared she would no longer be a burden, and activated her demonic control eye to summon a beast. A colossal sea monster emerged from the water at her command, while her transformed younger brother soared through the sky. She screamed, pouring all her strength into controlling the mighty monster. From above, The younger brother unleashed countless heaven-scorn arrows, raining down golden light upon the enemy. Facing the full-force attack, the shadow entity lowered its stance, purple lightning flashing around it, ready for battle. The shadow entity's purple lightning violently clashed with the rain of light arrows. A barrage of golden arrows tore through the night, forcing the opponent into a defensive posture. The summoned monster's body was torn to shreds in the skirmish. Purple and golden energy erupted, creating a destructive maelstrom. But that was just a feint. The true monster had circled behind the shadow entity. He stood tall amidst the water, destructive energy swirling around him. "This is our chance," the sister screamed, while the younger brother gathered a brilliant golden orb of energy. The younger brother thought to himself that they had used the monster's corpse as a decoy to launch this surprise attack. The colossal golden energy engulfed the shadow entity. The sister activated her demonic control eye, her eyes bleeding as she empowered her beast. Empowered, the summoned monster fired a destructive beam of light from its single eye. "His power is waning. You can't withstand this attack," the younger brother confidently declared. Amidst the energy storm, a voice echoed, "Commendable boy. An unstoppable blow. So I'll just have to annihilate." The shadow entity unleashed a purple shockwave that swept away everything. After the attack, the two demon siblings lay slumped on the water's surface, utterly defeated under the pouring rain. The younger brother weakly handed his sister a red pouch. "Take it and run." But she replied, "How can I leave you behind?" His injured hand clutched the pouch, their last precious item. The shadow entity coldly approached, its foot stepping onto the younger brother's dying body. "Give it back to me. I beg you," he desperately pleaded as the pouch burst open, countless human eyeballs spilling onto the water. He calmly explained, "Your sister's eye disease requires eating these eyes to avoid blindness, a problem that could be solved with healing magic, yet you chose to steal the sight of others." The two demon siblings cried and begged, willing to give up the eyeballs if their lives were spared. Gron coldly retorted, "When you gouged out their eyes, did those victims ever beg you?" The question struck them like lightning, leaving them stunned and horrified. Gron growled, forcing them to answer definitively, yes or no. Faced with the brutal truth, the two siblings could only remain silent in despair. The pink-haired demoness mumbled a lifeless reply. "I've forgotten." Gron thought to himself that no matter how civilized demons became, their nature remained unchanged. They merely shifted from harming others unconsciously to deliberately harming for their own benefit. Gron angrily bit into an apple, despising their mindset of treating lives as worthless. He realized that the ferocious Thunderbody was his greatest gain from this battle, but that power consumed too much seal energy and couldn't be used indiscriminately. Elsewhere, a demon was reporting to the chieftain about two recently discovered corpses. He concluded that the two heads had been blown apart by a lightning strike, an extremely brutal method. Observing from above, Bone Crusher deduced that an uninvited guest had infiltrated her territory. Meanwhile, Gron's silhouette flickered through the dense forest. Bone Crusher ordered, "From now on, every mysterious death of a new genius must be investigated by my own hand." Gron, disguised as a peasant carrying a hoe and wearing a hat, quietly walked through the forest. Bone Crusher suddenly turned, her eyes sharp as if she had discovered something. She blocked Gron's path and asked, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" Bone Crusher squinted, then realized, "Oh, I remember now. It's you, the peasant slave who scared off the vile roar demon." Bone Crusher pushed Gron down, declaring there was something more important to do. She pressed her foot on him, ordering the slave farmer to find her some delicious fruit. Gron lay helplessly at the feet of the powerful demoness. Bone Crusher leaned down, threateningly whispering that otherwise, he himself would become a delicious meal. After the warning, she and her subordinates turned and left. Gron stood up, silently analyzing. Just a brief clash was enough to test her seal's power. It's at the 4th level and leans towards defense. He reassessed himself. "I'm now considered a speed-type demon, with an advantage over power types, but I lack effective offensive capabilities against well-defended opponents." Watching Bone Crusher's retreating figure, Gron regretfully thought that if he could kill her, his Mountain of Corpses, Sea of Blood ability would advance significantly. He admitted the harsh reality. The problem isn't just elemental counters. The sheer power gap between us is too vast. Nevertheless, an intense craving surged within him, and he wondered how to suppress this insane urge to kill. A colossal eye opened in the ominous sky. The hunt had officially begun. Meanwhile, in her study, Bone Crusher was flipping through pages about various innate seals. She muttered, "It's not this either. The wounds on the corpse weren't caused by this type of electrical current." The book opened to a page introducing the Mountain of Corpses, Sea of Blood ability, a power that grows with each life taken. Bone Crusher pondered as she read about that terrifying ability. She propped her feet on the table, still unable to pinpoint the exact type of seal that had caused the death of her two subordinates. Elsewhere, Gron stood atop a mountain, determined to be patient and find a way to increase his power so he could defeat Bone Crusher with a single blow. A small bird-like demon was observing two other demons secretly transporting goods. One of them worried, "Slow down. If the commander finds out about this, we're dead." The other reassured, "Don't worry. This place is extremely secret. The commander won't find out." The bird demon immediately flew off, relaying the message to a frog-like creature waiting in the lake below. Gron emerged from the water, his crimson eyes fixed on the waiting frog-like creature. The guide creature lightly touched his leg, and Gron secretly thought this was the secret path for him to level up. Meanwhile, a guard demon was standing watch at the entrance of a colossal cave, the gateway to a black market. When Gron arrived, another guard blocked him, demanding a black market pass to enter. Passing through the entrance, Gron entered a bustling market, where countless demon species gathered to buy and sell. He coldly glided through the crowd, pushing aside a demon with flaming hands. As he passed, Gron overheard complaints about the ban on trading live humans and related products. At a stall, a demon was hawking a rare material called scythe steel, promising to increase power tenfold. Gron smirked, secretly thinking it was all just rumors, as he had never heard of any blacksmith forging this type of steel. In another corner, a cat-like demon was yelling at a smuggler for daring to sell the hearts of bipedal creatures, and Gron realized this was exactly what he needed. He continued to overhear a conversation about how the commander had banned human and slave trafficking 2 years ago, leading many to believe she had lost her mind. Gron deduced that the commander's strange actions were surely part of some conspiracy. In the middle of the market, a red-skinned slave master was hawking a group of ragged human slaves, but the crowd scorned them as defective goods. The slave master quickly appeased the crowd, promising to sell this batch at a liquidation price. Gron stepped out of the shadows, boldly declaring that he wanted to buy all of them, which made the slave master despise him for his shabby appearance. He offered a lightning arrow in exchange, and the slave master immediately changed his attitude upon realizing it was the secret weapon of the blonde child accompanying him. While the two sides negotiated, the subordinates began dragging the slaves away, and a blindfolded child screamed at them to stop. The child was roughly dragged away but still tried to yell for the others. It fell sprawling on the ground, trying to crawl away and urging someone to run quickly. A rope tightened around its neck, another dug deep into its leg, causing the child to writhe in extreme pain. The slave master looked at the prisoners, secretly regretting that he had intended to keep one for himself. Meanwhile, a henchman was hastily opening a door, whispering about the urgent need to sell a valuable item. Outside, the heavy wooden door of the human trafficking den remained silent under the flickering torchlight. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed from within as a surge of dark energy tore through the demon's body. It shrieked in extreme agony, its body ripped apart and submerged in a sea of blood. Silence returned, leaving only the wooden door now stained crimson with blood. The door slowly creaked open, revealing an eerie purple glow from within. Gron coldly stepped out of the darkness, his figure towering amidst the light. He left behind a deathly room, without a single glance back. Inside, a horrifying scene unfolded. Demon corpses lay strewn about, blood flowing like a river. Afterward, on a path, the slave master ordered the rescued group of slaves to remain silent. He bared his sharp teeth, threatening to tear out their tongues and roast them for dinner. Immediately, Gron acted, a lightning-fast slash tearing through the slave master's body. He looked at his hand, whispering that he finally had enough power, and a counting cycle was complete. The blonde child collapsed, sobbing in horror at the demon's headless corpse. It looked up at Gron, stammering, calling him a demon among demons. Gron secretly thought it was fortunate that the Day of Happiness Authority was rarely activated at the initial levels. He turned around, facing the two children trembling with fear. Gron held out a cloth bundle in front of the blindfolded child. "Is this yours?" The child joyfully cheered, eagerly taking its item with both hands. Gron ordered the recently rescued group of slaves to follow him, while Sulla hesitantly asked about the bag. He untied the ropes, declaring that he didn't like seeing others bound. Inside the bag was a set of small wooden figurines, depicting the 5 great heroes and a frog-like creature. A man in the slave group cheered with joy as his eyesight was restored, but was immediately scolded by his companion for speaking thoughtlessly to their benefactor. His companion quickly explained, while Gron silently used healing magic to cure the boy's eyes, receiving profuse thanks from him. Sulla remained skeptical, questioning why a demon like Gron would save them, and he simply replied, "Because I want to." The blunt and unbelievably simple answer left the girl completely speechless. Gron grew impatient, snapping, "Can't you see your master is busy? Be quiet, kid." He looked at the group of refugees, muttering to himself, contemplating what to do to send them on their way. The entire group was enveloped in heavy and awkward silence. A suffocating silence enveloped everyone. Sulla found the atmosphere strange and awkward. Suddenly, she had an idea to break the silence. She cleared her throat, drawing everyone's attention. "Let me tell you a joke." She began a story about a tavern in Pheonia that had a half-price promotion for the third drink. She reached the punchline, so a man walked in and said to the bartender, "Give me a second drink." The men and the boy in the group just stared at each other blankly, completely missing the point of the story. She waited in silence, but no one reacted. Suddenly, a faint phut sound came from behind. The bald man burst into delighted laughter, while the girl was so moved she almost cried, finally finding someone who understood her sense of humor. Gron suddenly acted, a dark snake shooting out from his arm. It quickly coiled around Sulla, making the girl scream in terror. The other slaves also became victims, writhing under the snake's control. The bald man exclaimed in shock. Benefactor? Gron looked at them coldly, remarking, "How naive." He continued his cruel lesson, asserting that demons could never be trusted. With an evil smile, he declared they would experience the most painful death to engrave this lesson into their hearts. Immediately after, all the rescued individuals collapsed to the ground, motionless. In the darkness, Gron's eyes glowed as he asked what they were resisting, if it was not wanting to be poisoned to death. But Sulla, despite her fear, realized the truth. "You don't intend to kill us. You just want to knock us out." She explained that no one would tell the dead to remember a lesson, then asked what made him so sure. "Because you're a good demon. That's why I trust you," Sulla asserted through tears. Gron silently looked at the unconscious boy on the ground and asked, "So what do you want now?" Sulla unhesitatingly replied, "I want to follow you," but Gron coldly refused, saying he didn't need useless baggage. The girl named Sulla, a blacksmith, asserted that she wouldn't be a burden and asked for his name in return. The name Sulla made Gron freeze. He realized she was Alexius's granddaughter. Sulla was astonished to learn that the person in front of her knew her grandfather. Gron reminisced, saying they were old acquaintances, and he had even carried her when she was little. The memory took him back to a smoky blacksmith's workshop under a clear blue sky. That was where the blacksmith Alexius had declared his principle: never to forge swords for those who harm their own kind or slaughter the innocent. In the memory, Alexius looked at Gron with a scrutinizing gaze, saying, "And you," he declared, "you reek of the blood of both your own kind and the innocent. Even after more than 10 years, my seal still smells it." The blacksmith tried to dismiss him, but Dia had sent him to find the best blacksmith to forge a greatsword from Anxi steel. Alexius skeptically asked again about Dia of the Mercy Set. When Gron nodded, confirming he was with her, the blacksmith's gaze changed slightly. "All right," Alexius said. "I owe her a favor, and I will repay it with this ultimate sword." He held out a statue of the goddess of mercy, explaining that he would use it as the sword's guard. Gron asked when he could retrieve the sword, and Alexius replied that he needed to be patient and could come check any time. The blacksmith suddenly remembered, "Oh right, my daughter-in-law is about to give birth. I must go invite a scholar to write blessing." The memory shifted to another scene, where Gron lay slumped on the pristine white snow. Amidst the desolate ruins, Alexius sat, holding an infant beside the greatsword plunged deep into the snow. The Gron of the past asked, "Alexius, where is my sword?" "It's right at the entrance. Take it yourself," the blacksmith replied, his voice full of weariness. Gron was astonished to see the name Sulla engraved on the sword, and Alexius confirmed it was his granddaughter's name, and also the sword's name. "What about the child's parents?" Gron asked, sensing something ominous. Alexius recounted painfully. "They're dead. A pack of beasts calling themselves demons stormed the village. They killed everything they saw." His voice trailed off in the cold snow. Gron was stunned, realizing they were indeed demons, then asked if Dia and Alexius's beloved had met the same fate. "Yes." Gron gritted his teeth, his eyes red with hatred. "They all died because of the demons." He looked at the sleeping infant, bitterly thinking that she hadn't even had the chance to receive blessings. In his memory, Gron whispered blessings to the infant Sulla, wishing her a life free from suffering. He vowed that the name Sulla would accompany him on his bloody path of slaughter. Alexius looked at the hero and asked if he still needed mercy. Mercy? Gron questioned himself as he plunged his greatsword into the cold snow. He believed that healing the injured was merely a self-deceptive therapy. Facing the endless horde of demons, Gron decided he would act in his own way. He would annihilate all evil before they could harm the innocent with the sword named Sulla. Gron plunged into the slaughter alone, his blade drenched in enemy blood. He cut and killed relentlessly, determined to pile enemy corpses into mountains. His face was stained with blood, his eyes blazing with extreme hatred. Standing atop a mountain of demon corpses, Gron redefined mercy. It was complete annihilation. Back in the present, Sulla curiously asked why Gron was in the form of a demon and looked much younger than her grandfather had described. Gron evaded the question, only saying it was due to good skincare, then asked her why she was captured. Sulla asserted that she would not return until she had forged the strongest demon-slaying sword. Encouraged by Gron, she happily asked if he truly believed she could do it. Gron thoughtfully admitted that having a goal to pursue was enviable. Elsewhere, the rescued slaves found a letter from the vampire knight. A man joyfully exclaimed that they had been saved by the disciple of the demon-slaying fanatic Gron. The blindfolded boy looked up, skeptically asking if that was true. Gron turned back, informing Sulla that the other three had been taken care of, and that he had also brought back some forging tools. Sulla proudly showed off her homemade forge, declaring that it was as easy as pie for her. However, she sighed deeply due to the lack of the rare material, soulsong steel, which was in the hands of the demon race. Suddenly, Gron held out a piece of golden patterned metal before an astonished Sulla. He said he found it on the road, making Sulla joyfully exclaim and call him a master thief. Gron asked Sulla if she knew how to forge this type of steel, and she confidently affirmed that she was one of only 3 people in the world who could do it. When Sulla was curious about the third person, Gron revealed it was the current generation's conqueror, Demon King, Agricola. He further explained that currently only 6 weapons made of Soulsong steel existed in the world. Realizing the threat from the new generation of demons, Gron secretly resolved to accelerate his pace of becoming stronger. When Sulla asked where he was going, Gron simply replied that he would continue his hunt. Meanwhile, at the private hot spring of the chieftain of the Yuanshan region, a subordinate reported that no one survived the Black Market massacre. Bone Crusher, soaking in the water, coldly ordered the corpses of the violators to be hung in the plaza as a display of power. She dismissed the question about tracking down the culprit and sent her subordinate away. Afterward, Bone Crusher issued another cruel order regarding the serf's meal. She submerged herself in the water, relaxing. Then she resurfaced, muttering to herself that she was craving some high-quality sugar. Elsewhere, a group of demons was discussing the unstable situation and worrying about high-level enemies infiltrate. They discussed the ability to change displayed seal levels, a transcendent skill, while Gron quietly listened nearby. Gron moved through the crowd, secretly thinking that the demons were more vigilant, making it harder to find weaklings to level up. Nearby, 2 other demons were examining a corpse, discussing how another genius had been killed. Gron quietly left, secretly denying that he was the perpetrator of this murder. Gron stood amidst the ruined settlement, secretly thinking, "Besides me, is there another predator here?" He quietly walked along the desolate dirt road. His green eyes shone with extreme vigilance. The surrounding landscape was nothing but desolate ruins. Deadly silence enveloped every alley. Gron smirked, secretly thinking that the stalker certainly wasn't here to learn how to grow rice. Suddenly, a cloaked shadow appeared on the rooftop. A sound of tearing wind echoed. The stranger lunged down to attack Gron with incredible speed. Gron's punch was blocked by his opponent's pitch-black arm. He was astonished by the enemy's formidable defensive capabilities. The mysterious shadow stood high above, looking down disdainfully. Gron angrily delivered a kick that shattered the wooden pillar beside him. The cloaked figure seemed to be manipulating a stream of water, preparing for the next attack. She lunged at Gron once more, determined not to give him a chance to breathe. "Bastard, you took a hit and still want more?" she growled. "It seems I overestimated you," Gron retorted, suddenly seizing his opponent's wrist. A surge of dark energy erupted, and his hand easily crushed her defense. The attacker was stunned, unable to believe the terrifying power that had just been unleashed. Furious dark energy continued to pour from Gron's body, signaling the imminent start of an uneven battle. A terrifying explosion shook the ground, signaling the aftershocks of a fierce battle. Ferocious dark energy swirled around Gron, crushing everything within its range. Gron was secretly astonished, not expecting his opponent to be able to increase the density of their full-body seal energy to withstand that attack. After the impact, the two separated, the mysterious attacker standing on a ruined rock outcrop while Gron put his shirt back on. The scene was devastated, with only shattered fragments and cracked earth remaining, as testament to the destructive power unleashed. The attacker fully revealed herself, a woman with bat wings, who decided to abandon the pursuit due to Gron's speed. She smirked, thinking to herself that Gron was an extremely dangerous individual who should either be decapitated on the spot or subjugated as a hound. Meanwhile, Gron realized that with his current strength, he could only inflict superficial wounds on her. He needed to molt and forge a new sword. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through Gron's head. A blurry image of himself clutching his face in pain flashed by, like a forgotten memory. In the distance, the purple-haired woman's eyes widened in horror, seemingly having recognized his true identity. Sura. The scene shifted to a messy forge, where Gron asked Sulla why she hadn't built a ventilation system. "Oh no, the temperature is about to ruin it," Sulla cried out in a panic and rushed towards the furnace. With skillful hands, she used tongs to firmly grasp the glowing red steel blank. Sulla's face was smudged, but her eyes shone with intense concentration. She carefully placed a precious material into the furnace, under Gron's watchful gaze. "This is the sword I made for you." Sulla excitedly showed off her creation, explaining that she had forged it to fit his current strength. With eyes sparkling with pride, she declared it her greatest masterpiece, the first Anxi steel weapon of the era. Sulla looked directly at Gron, her voice full of solemnity. "Sir Gelong, please bear witness." The perfect sword was raised high, its blade emitting a dazzling aura, promising new power. Gron praised. "Well done, Sulla." She joyfully asked again, and he affirmed it firmly. He asked about the missing hilt and pommel, and Sulla confessed that she didn't have enough materials yet. Gron took the bare blade, reassuring her that it was enough for now. He decided to name the new sword Little Sulla, after the great sword from before. The Little Sulla, with its wavy blade, emitted a stream of green dark energy. Gron thought to himself, this body yearned to absorb the Anxi steel sword, to undergo the ancient serpent molting. But he held back, deciding he had to wait until it was complete to evolve into its absolutely powerful form. Sulla raised her hammer high, declaring with fiery determination that she would work very hard. She eagerly asked if he could perform the second form of the Skyfall sword technique, but Gron replied that the Yuanshan land wasn't high enough. The next morning, Sulla was still fast asleep in bed. In her slumber, she smelled a fragrant aroma. Waking up, Sala was astonished to see a giant fruit tart placed on the table. She asked in wonder, and Gron explained that a student's parent had taught him how to make this dish when he was at the Royal Academy. Gron's demonic hand carefully placed a lemon slice on the tart. Gron left with the long tart, while a guard ordered his comrades to fetch wine for the commander. In a magnificent hall, Gron lay on a stone altar, offering himself and the tart as tribute. Bone Crusher looked down from above, sneering. "Quite a long tray. Let me see what you've brought." She showed amusement. "You're quite clever, offering yourself on a silver platter." Bone Crusher gave an appreciative, knowing smile. "Truly very clever." She turned away, loudly ordering, "You downstairs. Bring the wine up here immediately." Bone Crusher was astonished, recognizing her opponent's weapon. An angsty steel sword? The shadow entity growled a warning. "You won't be so lucky with the next strike." Bone Crusher immediately activated her talent seal, Dyer's Armament, summoning the colossal shield, Dawn's Aegis. Gron thought to himself, as expected, it was a defensive seal, and decided to test her further. Pushed back, Bone Crusher spoke with annoyance, deeming a surprise of this magnitude not to her taste. Gron retorted sarcastically, wondering if perhaps he hadn't put enough honey in the tart, and should have asked her preference first. Finishing his words, he swung his sword, unleashing another sky-shattering lightning strike to indulge her preference. Two terrifying streams of power collided, creating a violent explosion. Both were locked in a power struggle, purple and yellow energies clashing wildly. Bone Crusher smirked confidently, seemingly having a plan. The shield in her hand began to transform, emitting a brilliant light. Dawn's Aegis transformed into a colossal spear, and Bone Crusher charged with her twilight assault. Gron was pushed back by the spear's power, his body sparking with resisting lightning. Another blinding explosion engulfed both as the attack reached its peak. The force of the explosion flung Bone Crusher backward, shattering the ground. She secretly assessed her opponent as merely a reckless youngster who would soon exhaust his seal power. Meanwhile, Gron calculated that he had enough strength for a few more strikes and decided he needed a smarter approach. He leaped into the air, casting a colossal net of lightning that enveloped the entire battlefield. Bone Crusher scoffed that it was a cheap trick, then used her shield to glide across the electrified net. Gron was stunned, recognizing her technique. An insulating energy layer that Faye had once developed, and he himself had taught to humanity. Gron thought to himself, Faye's power lies in her innate seal. How dare a thief compare himself to her? Gron growled, "What are you so bothered about?" Bone Crusher easily blocked Gron's spinning attack with her shield, but that was just a feint. The real attack pierced through his chest. Gron was knocked far back, his body suspended in mid-air. Bone Crusher scoffed, "Distracted while trying to assassinate me? How ridiculous." Suddenly, energy snakes emerged from the darkness, startling her. "Huh?" She still showed disdain. "Impossible. Such a cheap trick." Gron drew the Soul Song steel blade, and his seal power immediately resonated. Bone Crusher was stunned, then roared, "How dare you bring that out?" Gron declared, "Activation complete. The real battle begins." An ancient legend tells of the evil lava great serpent that sought to devour the three moons. The hero Ibis fought bare-handed and sacrificed himself to destroy the monster. Bone Crusher suddenly realized something, exclaiming in panic, "Damn it, it's too late." She discovered a fatal opening when Gron switched between offense and defense. She whispered triumphantly, "Finally, I've got you." She activated Thebius's armed hand of final will, transforming her arm into a destructive weapon. A punch carrying terrifying power slammed directly into Gron's chest. The impact shattered the ground, and his sword was also flung away. Gron thought in pain, "My internal organs are shattered, ribs completely broken. I need to find a way to recover." Pinned by Bone Crusher, Gron strained, trying to break free from the hold. "I am a seasoned warrior," Gron roared, using a technique to throw his opponent to the ground. Overpowered, Bone Crusher calmly remarked, "Those internal injuries must be killing you. I only know one other person who can endure pain like you." She smirked. "It would be a shame to just kill you like this." Seizing the opportunity, Bone Crusher turned the tables, pinning Gron's head to the ground with her foot. "Ever thought about working for me?" She offered a surprising proposition. At Gron's silence, Bone Crusher took it as an answer. "All right, I get it." "Die!" she roared, putting all her strength into a punch. A terrifying explosion occurred as the punch connected, shattering the ground into pieces. The shockwave from the attack spread, destroying a sturdy tower in the distance. Gron was sent flying like a bullet, flung far from the battlefield. At the point of impact, a colossal, bottomless crater was formed. "Humph. If it weren't for that sword, that punch would have crushed you," Bone Crusher muttered. She stated confidently, "But with such severe injuries, I don't believe you're still alive." In midair, a green light enveloped Gron as he cast his healing art. He landed forcefully, embedding himself deep into the cracked ground. The scene became silent in the land with colossal skull architecture. Suddenly, a glowing purple energy orb appeared in the sky. Gron stood up, his entire body erupting with ferocious purple demonic energy, his hair turning white. Bone Crusher exclaimed in horror, "Skyfall sword technique, second form?" Gron unleashed Phantom Thunder Skyfall sword technique, while Bone Crusher roared a challenge from below. The second form descended, a colossal lightning sword hurtling straight towards its target. A destructive explosion engulfed everything in purple light. The ferocious energy tore through the sturdy tower. After the shockwave, the tower was nothing but desolate ruins. Amidst the dust and smoke, Gron stood, the last lightning bolts fading as he returned to his original form. He stood firm, his gaze resolute as he looked forward. His green eyes gleamed with cold determination. However, Bone Crusher floated in midair, completely unharmed, admitting she was almost finished off. She said that in the past 2 years, Gron was the first to force her to use this technique. A colossal energy banner appeared. It was the innate seal, the Undying Battle Banner. Gron was stunned, muttering the name, the Undying Battle Banner, in his head. Bone Crusher transformed her energy into a weapon, growling, "Now take that pride to hell." Recognizing the familiar technique, Gron blurted out, "Faye?" Bone Crusher froze, bewildered by his sudden question. She fell silent, bowing her head in confused thought. The scene suddenly shifted to the past, a hand touching Gron's neck, revealing a Roman numeral II tattoo. In the memory, the heroes were discussing Zilong, the demon-slaying fanatic they were about to meet. The blonde hero suddenly noticed something strange. Why is that mountain peak so perfectly round? Immediately, the mountain began to shake violently, revealing the colossal, glowing red eyes of an ancient creature awakening. In the past, the group of heroes faced a colossal creature that had just awakened, and the golden-haired female warrior exclaimed in horror, "That's the round mountain troll." The colossal monster let out an earth-shattering roar, clutching its head in fury. It shrieked in confusion. Why has the mountaintop become so sharp? Merovec immediately recognized. That's the Skyfall sword technique. First form, astonishing his comrades. A blinding, sword-sharp beam of light had pierced through the monster's rocky chest. Its colossal legs, once part of the mountain, began to crack and crumble. Losing its support, the troll's massive body began to topple backward. Amidst the chaos, Sage Sophia raised his hand, summoning a protective orb of light. The divine shield enveloped the entire team, shielding them from the seismic tremors caused by the giant's collapse. When the dust settled, only the shattered corpse of the monster remained, lying on the desolate ground. Black blood gushed out, staining red the rocky area where it once was part of the mountain. Even its colossal fangs trembled, and then shattered into pieces. The 4 heroes stood firm, ready to face any subsequent challenge. But then from within the pool of blood, a towering figure rose, his entire body drenched in enemy blood. It was Zilong. He squinted at the group and asked, "Miravi, are these the 3 helpers you mentioned in your letter?" Merovec replied, "Why the hostile tone? From now on, we are comrades fighting together against the Demon Emperor." Zilong coldly replied, "Nothing more, nothing less. Drawing a clear line will be better for all of us." After speaking, the great warrior collapsed, seemingly exhausted after a battle no one witnessed. He stood up, turned his back, and said, "Emotions that are too deep only become a burden, or a potential danger." Zilong let out a sigh, the weariness and brutality of battle still etched deep in his eyes. In a memory, Bone Crusher once objected to Zilong. "I don't agree with that." Zilong, his face covered in blood, coldly retorted, "Whether you agree or not is none of my concern." Merovec tried to mediate. "Please forgive him, his personality is just difficult like that. Just let him stick to his principles. Perhaps later, I also won't." The knight in full armor thought to herself, "Have any friendship with him?" Back in the present, Bone Crusher tremblingly asked Gron, her supposedly dead comrade, "Is it really you?" Gron smiled faintly, confirming, "Yes." Bone Crusher burst into happiness. "That's great, you're alive too." She rushed forward and embraced her old comrade in a tight hug. Feeling the hot tears, Gron was surprised. "Why are you crying? This isn't like you at all." Bone Crusher sobbed, explaining, "I just never expected to meet a comrade again." Gron lowered his head, his voice full of regret. "I'm sorry. If I had done better back then, everyone wouldn't have had to." Suddenly, 2 panicked demon guards burst in. "What's going on, Commander?" From their perspective, Bone Crusher was standing alone in the ruined room. She yelled, "This doesn't concern you, get out." Meanwhile, Gron sat down to rest, ignoring the murmuring subordinates. A demon heard a faint groan and whispered, "Even with her defenses, she's still in pain. No wonder she's crying like that." The other quickly covered its mouth. Gron placed his hand on Bone Crusher's arm, using healing art. Bone Crusher gently asked, "Zilong, have you always felt guilty about what happened all this time?" Gron remained silent. She interrupted him. All right. I always get annoyed when you ramble about doing better. Don't start again." Gron asked back, "Do I really nag that much?" Bone Crusher suddenly cried out, "Ow, that hurts so much." Gron replied, "Bear with it. You broke over a dozen of my bones." She mumbled, confessing, "I'm just afraid of pain. That's why I had to wear such thick armor back then." After everything settled down, they sat together. Bone Crusher asked, "So you've been reborn as a member of our bloodline? What about Faya? Groan replied. That's right. 2 years ago, I found my sister, Faya. Gron, stunned, asked his old comrade. So you became a woman? He still couldn't believe his eyes. How did you become a female member of the demon race? Bone Crusher glanced at him, a meaningful expression on her face as she calmly ate fruit. She smiled, replying with a shocking truth. I've always been a woman. Gron was speechless, so shocked he choked on his saliva. He stammered in utter disbelief. Huh? Bone Crusher sighed exasperatedly. We've known each other for so many years in our previous lives, and you thought I was a man all that time? Gron suddenly recalled an old friend's words that he was terrible at judging people. He desperately asked, besides me, everyone else knew? And received a blunt reply, everyone knew. Why didn't you say something sooner? Gron asked resentfully, but Bone Crusher retorted, why didn't you ask? I thought you knew. Gron still tried to salvage his misunderstanding. I just thought, big sister, TT, that Faya called you was a military title. The awkward conversation paused as Bone Crusher asked about the sleeping Sulla, and Gron explained that the girl needed rest after forging weapons. Bone Crusher noticed the small wooden statues placed on a crate. She counted them and mumbled, 1, 2, 3, 4. One person is missing. Her gaze became distant, lost in thought about the fallen comrade. She suddenly asked Gron, looking at his bandaged hand, why do you hate yourself? Gron seriously replied, to remind myself that I must do better in the future. His eyes blazed with iron will. This time, I will completely eradicate evil and protect everyone. Bone Crusher burst out laughing at that grand declaration. She looked at him challengingly. Just you alone. But Gron merely remained silent, facing her skepticism. Bone Crusher smirked. If it's about beating up bad guys, of course I'm in. Gron and Bone Crusher's powerful handshake officially marked a new alliance. Their hands clasped tightly. An unspoken vow was made between the two old comrades. On the wooden crate, small statues evoked the image of a hero team from years past. Memories of the 5 great heroes, who once fought side by side, seemed to remain perfectly intact. Bone Crusher revealed that assassinating talented demon sprouts was both to restrain them and to consolidate her own power. She explained that because the current Demon King was not managing things, controlling the demons here became extremely difficult. Bone Crusher regretfully admitted that sometimes she still felt her reason being pulled away by the demonic instincts of this body. Gron empathized, confessing that becoming a demon had made him a little different. Bone Crusher curiously asked back, how different? Gron replied that his personality had become gentler, and his methods of destroying enemies had lost their creativity, leaving Bone Crusher stunned. Suddenly, a blonde girl appeared, calling Gron uncle and innocently asking about the tall woman beside him. Bone Crusher was immediately captivated by the girl's cuteness, exclaiming, oh, what a cute little face. Gron introduced her as Faya, his younger sister, who had also been reborn as a demon like him. Carrying Faya, Bone Crusher told them to pack up their belongings to go to her more spacious and discreet secret basement. Gron carried the luggage, following Bone Crusher with Faya into a hidden passage in the cave. Inside the basement, Gron was astonished by the vast intelligence trove Bone Crusher had collected over 2 years. The power map was densely packed with information about generations of demon kings, revealing a bloody purge that had been and was still ongoing. Gron turned around and snapped at Faya. Stop treating me like a doll. Faya fidgeted in her new outfit, wondering if it was pretty but finding it inconvenient for smithing. Bone Crusher was proud of her craftsmanship, while Gron praised the outfit's royal style, though he secretly thought of the grass dress she had made before. Looking at herself in the mirror, Faya heard Bone Crusher rationalize that due to limited materials, she had to make clothes in an island style. Bone Crusher rummaged through her belongings, thinking Faya needed another hair accessory. Gron suddenly looked astonished at what Bone Crusher had just found. He was stunned to realize that it was the echo of Solsi. Bone Crusher explained it was just a seashell paid as a toll by a group of mountain demons, but Gron asserted it was an ancient relic from 300 years ago. Gron explained that this relic allowed one to enter another's soul to review their past memories. Bone Crusher commented that the seashell's function sounded like a tool for spying on others' secrets. Gron came up with a bold idea: to use it to revisit the moment they died in battle. He recalled that at that moment, he had felt something unusual, but no longer had the strength to recognize it. With a determined expression, Gron suggested that Bone Crusher enter his soul to find out the true reason for their reincarnation. Though a little confused, Bone Crusher decisively agreed. She regained her confidence, her eyes blazing as she declared, let's do it. Gron praised her reliability, then casually told her to attach the other half, leaving Bone Crusher bewildered. When Gron explained it only worked when complete, Bone Crusher yelled that the other half was missing. She confessed that a demon gang from the No Man's Land had stolen it along with many other supplies months ago. Gron questioned why she hadn't retrieved it, and Bone Crusher had to admit she was terrible at tracking. Gron sighed, grumbling that after all these years, the stealth skills he taught her hadn't improved at all. Gron sharply criticized Bone Crusher. Whether it's tracking me or assassinating demon geniuses, any careful individual could detect your attempts. Bone Crusher tearfully promised to practice harder, but Gron immediately yelled, demanding she start at once. Meanwhile, in a secluded valley, a demon bandit gang was gathered around a campfire in their lair. The bandits inspected their spoils, commenting that Roundhill territory no longer raided humans because there was nothing valuable left, but the tributes received were all delicious food. From inside the tent, their leader declared his philosophy: even flies are meat. What's important is persistent. He revealed his long-term plan: to amass forces to reclaim the no man's land and destroy a cursed evil dragon. 2 other bandits struggled to carry in 2 heavy crates, stating these were tributes from the snake den and they would open them later. They placed the 2 crates on the ground and left. The 2 crates lay abandoned on the grass. Suddenly, pairs of legs appeared beneath the 2 crates and began to move strangely. Inside a transparent crate, Gron and Bone Crusher were hiding, preparing for the raid. Gron secretly thought it was lucky to have this trick, saving them the trouble of searching for the bandits. But Bone Crusher didn't like his comparison. Bone Crusher suggested rushing out to wipe out the enemies, but Gron dismissed it, saying they were too numerous and there might be hidden guards. He worried they couldn't guarantee capturing everyone. Gron decided he needed to observe first to find where the other half of the relic was hidden, while the 2 bandits outside were still complaining about the evil dragon's power. A fat bandit, without a hint of suspicion, plopped down onto one of the 2 crates. He yelled out a new plan: "I say we should lure the evil dragon towards the humans." Just then, the crate beneath him shattered, sending the bandit flying into the air in astonishment. The fat bandit and his comrades stared in horror at the shattered pieces, realizing the tribute crate was completely empty. In her snake demon form, Faya, Gron's younger sister, displayed power from her ancient serpent bloodline. From inside a wooden crate, Gron, in his small snake form, pointed to Faya. "Faya, look." Unaware, the bandit gang was still gathered around the campfire, while the crate containing 2 uninvited guests lay right in front of them. Inside the tent, the one-eyed leader boasted to the female demon beside him about his plan to go to the black market in the Yuanshan territory to exchange their spoils for weapons. The female demon replied that it wasn't necessary, as she'd heard that black market had been wiped out by some formidable individual, surprising the leader. Suddenly, the leader sensed a murderous aura and yelled, "Who's there?" as Gron's shadow appeared right behind him. Gron coldly ordered, "Target confirmed. Faya, crush the rest as you please." Immediately, Faya smashed the wooden crate, sending a fat bandit flying into the air. She grabbed another bandit's face, roaring furiously, "You bastards, you took all the good food, making me eat scraps and weeds every day." Faya's rage reached its peak. "This is truly driving me insane." She delivered a devastating punch to the bandit's stomach. Amidst the chaos, Faya stood alone, facing an entire army of charging bandits. The one-eyed leader furiously roared, mistaking her. "Serpent demon, what have you done? You've brought Bone Crusher's gang here." He threw his bag to the ground, ready for a fight to the death. But then, he suddenly turned to Gron for help, pretending to be a victim kidnapped and tortured by the female demon beside him. A flash of light, and the cowardly leader's body was cut in half. The one who struck was his female demon accomplice, her legs transformed into sharp blades, as she sneered, "Despicable creature. Fine, I'm sick of you anyway." Enveloped in purple lightning, Gron faced the traitor, who seductively invited, "Hey handsome, I bet you want this, don't you?" The female demon continued to provoke, promising to become Gron's plaything if he seized the spoils. But Gron responded by transforming into his ferocious thunder body, lunging to snatch the item in an instant. The surviving bandits were stunned. No way. The boss was taken down by that kid in an instant. Gron began training Bone Crusher, pointing out her weakness. "You're still fighting with old habits, only attacking when attacking and defending when defending. When we sparred," he continued, "I realized your talent seal can perfectly integrate offense and defense." Gron explained, "With this type of weapon transforming seal, I can share some advanced techniques with you." Then summoned an energy snake. The snake coiled around Bone Crusher's neck, and Gron commanded, "My power lies in this venom. Don't resist, feel it." Following its flow, you will feel a completely different way of wielding power, he instructed as Bone Crusher meditated. Gron declared, "I will demonstrate once. Whether you grasp it or not is up to you." Bone Crusher understood, unleashing her new ultimate technique, Dyer's Armament. Dawn and Twilight's Co-Brilliance, transforming her shield into a destructive drill. "Very good. Just like that," Gron praised with satisfaction. "Learning something new doesn't feel bad, does it?" After the training session, Gron held the remaining half of the relic and said, "Got it. Let's go home, conservative." Meanwhile, at the base, little Faya was full and fast asleep on the dining table. Gron explained about the relic. "It's very fragile, only usable once to review what happened when the Demon Emperor and I perished together." Bone Crusher replied with a determined gaze. "Don't worry. Get ready," Gron shouted, pressing the relic to his chest and beginning to channel energy. The relic activated, unleashing a massive surge of dark energy. Amidst the hazy smoke, Gron stood firm, completing the memory activation. He turned to warn Bone Crusher, "Don't look at things you shouldn't see." But it was too late. She was pulled into the memory space and clicked her tongue. "Chuh." What is there that I shouldn't see? Before Bone Crusher's eyes, a colossal entity, like an ancient god, slowly emerged from the dark sea. In the soul space, a hanged statue appeared, bearing the likeness of Gelong himself. Bone Crusher scoffed. So it's the statue of the god of mercy. Gelong is truly merciful. Gron's soul appeared, startling her. You can enter too? This is my soul, after all. As Gron prepared to begin, memories of the final battle with the Demon Emperor suddenly flooded in. Go, Gron said, pushing Bone Crusher into the chaotic stream of memories. Bone Crusher was swept into a brilliant red light, heading straight to the center of the battle from years ago. She witnessed the moment her past self, the ironclad knight, was struck down by a fatal blow. Looking at the shattered armor, Bone Crusher whispered, "So this is Gelong's memory, after I died." In the memory, Gelong, covered in wounds, admitted he had been cornered. The Demon Emperor, in despair, decided to use his contingency plan, another's authority. He roared the name of the ultimate technique, cruel samsara body snatching, aiming to reincarnate his soul into another talented demon. Even as his body disintegrated, the Demon Emperor's will remained undying. His soul sought a new host amidst the chaotic energy current. Bone Crusher's gaze suddenly stopped at a familiar figure. She painfully called out, "Sovka." The white-haired hero Sovka lay motionless in a sea of blood, having drawn her last breath. The Demon Emperor's soul whispered that even though the reincarnation process was interrupted, he didn't know what the consequences would be. But he was certain he would continue to exist in this world. Bone Crusher was utterly horrified as she realized the truth. This is bad. The Demon Emperor has also reincarnated. The memory shattered into pieces, ending the journey into the past. Falling into another dark space, Bone Crusher wondered where she was, but was determined to report this news to Gelong.